Hey, Natasha here. In this video, we are going to uncover what may be the cause for this quiet, subtle, resentful feeling that you are starting to maybe have towards your practice. And also what to do about it. So, if you want to dive in a little bit deeper, I invite you to take my 2-minute Are You the Bottleneck quiz to find out who or what is slowing down you and your progress. So, when I had my private practice, I quickly had this growing resentment towards my practice. And it just grew even more so over time for a plethora of reasons. I mean, it was time consuming. It was hard. I just wasn't making enough revenue to, cover payroll. The constant scheduling challenges that I always seem to run into. You know, the common denominator, really the root cause of all this resentment was me. So, what I needed to do was really take a step back and see the bigger picture and really sift through what was the issue. But I couldn't really do that in that moment. I was just so engulfed in the day to day and so beyond burnt out that I just couldn't do this. So, what I would love for you to ask yourself is this: why? Why am I resentful? Why do I have these feelings towards my practice? Am I stressed? Is it because maybe I'm just bending over backwards, burning the candle at both ends? What is the issue here? What could it really be? And so, as we dive into this, that is the first of the pillars that we're going to talk about in this video, is asking yourself why. So, I bring this up quite a bit in different aspects. I brought it up in a previous video, a few now, but in this aspect, the reason I want you to ask yourself why is when we run into hard times in life, but also when it comes to our business, or if we're really just like can't figure out, and we're just having challenge after challenge after challenge, is to always go back to your why. That is your anchor. Why did you start your practice in the first place? Why are you in this profession? Why do you do what you do? And now, why are you feeling the way that you're feeling? Has something changed? And again, the reason we ask ourselves why 5 times is to really peel back those layers and figure out what's truly going on here. That first why, that second why, those are kind of the surface level things, that what we think it is or what seems obvious, but that's usually not the root cause. It tends to be much deeper than that. So you want to ask yourself why 5 times. And so the next is, this intentionality. And when I look at intentionality, that is in all things. So we want to be intentional with how we show up in our lives, how we show up in all the roles that we play, but then also in our business. So, when we're being really intentional with our business, first, what is your anchor? And then, what are some things that make you feel like you're fulfilling your purpose, that you're doing what you came here to do, or why you open your business, and being super intentional about those things and making sure that those are the things that are top of mind for you, being super intentional about how you're doing those things and when you're doing those things. And sometimes you need to be doing those things daily to really get that reinforcement of, this is why I do what I do. This feels really good to me. And I'm making an impact and I'm doing the things, and then you get that feedback. And sometimes that's the missing piece. We're just not getting enough of that to really, help anchor us down and get us back into our why, and why we're doing what we're doing as we are doing it, if that makes sense. Okay. And then the next is zone of genius. And this could be an entirely different episode. In fact, I think I'm going to make this a podcast episode on its own. Is what brings you joy? What lights you up? What do you really enjoy? Now, we're speaking about this in the realm of your business, but this may not end up being anything related to your business. And that's okay. You just like brain dump a list of things that you really enjoy doing, activities, whatever it is. I enjoy adult coloring books. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, what do you really enjoy doing? Do that, because you're probably not doing anything that really like makes you feel good, that you actually enjoy doing. Now, when we think about that, that's something that after you do it, not only makes you feel good, sometimes it makes you feel recharged. Like, you're like, oh yeah, I feel like I could just take on the day. Or it's something that you lose track of time doing. So that's another key piece that helps kind of for some that are like, I don't know what, something that you could do for hours and literally lose yourself in. You'll look up and all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I've been doing this for 3 hours. That is what it is. And that is what this smiley face stick guy is. Okay. This stick figure is somebody who is in their zone of genius and they are happy as a clam. They're so happy because they have not only gone back to their why, they feel really good about it, they're being intentional, and they've identified their zone of genius. And you can have more than one. This is just kind of, again, a high level overview. So when we look at our business, this kind of ties into this last one, which is overworked versus misaligned. So a few videos back, I did a whole video on alignment. It's called Alignment 101, I believe, which I talk about that, where we can think that we've identified our why, think that we're being intentional, and think that we are fulfilling our purpose. And sometimes we almost have checked all the boxes, but because we haven't really reassessed and spent time with ourselves, we find, like I did, that I was doing a lot of the things, but I was misaligned and I was running into challenge after challenge, struggle after struggle. And it wasn't what I was doing. Like, I was doing all the right things. I'm a doer. So I was doing, but I wasn't getting the results that I desired. Right. And I had almost everything right. But I was misaligned just a pinch. And I just needed to pivot, doing all the things now just in a different way. And this in my new business feels much more aligned. And I feel much better about doing all the things. I don't feel depleted. And I am having a lot more fun doing it, because I'm doing everything in a different way that is much more aligned. So for me, it was a little bit of both. I was overworked and misaligned. Now, going back to Zone of Genius, if you have things in your business that you enjoy doing versus not doing, do more of the things that you like to do. So if it is that you just love that direct face-to-face client interaction and you love direct patient care, do more of that. Even though your business, it doesn't matter if you're the practice. I mean, that's why we do what we do, is because we want to help people. So if it's more about that direct patient care, then do more of it. And of course, you want to, maintain those boundaries, your work boundaries. So then that means you hire somebody else to do more of the back end stuff, to do your payroll. Then you do that and shift that. So you're doing more of what is in not only your zone of genius, you're being intentional because you're doing it more often. And that is, you're going to get that feedback. And that's what you're missing. Because I don't think a lot of us opened our businesses or our practices because we just really loved paperwork. I used to use that as a running joke for years, that the only reason I became a speech pathologist was because I loved documentation and it was my favorite thing to do. I loved billing. That was my favorite thing to do. I mean, I'm being facetious, right? Nobody got into this business because they absolutely loved admin and they loved all the paperwork behind the scenes. Maybe you are that one person, but almost no one says that. That is not why a lot of us get into these helping professional fields, is because we like paperwork. So palm that off to somebody else. Let somebody else, because that might be that someone else's zone of genius and they prefer that versus the direct face-to-face patient care. So everybody's got their own zones of geniuses. You'll have more than one. It may or may not be in your business, but find the things that you do like in your business and do those. because what ends up being the growing resentment sometimes is we are spread too thin. We're doing, we're wearing all the hats and we're doing all the things, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think sometimes our businesses are kind of set up to be broken when we're a solopreneur, especially until we can get to the point that we can hire a contractor, hire out for certain things, outsource billing, whatever the case is. But until we can get to those points, or if we can shift, make those shifts happen before you grow so resentful of your business that you just scrap it all and close up shop. When all it could be is just a few simple shifts of doing more of what you love, doing more of what you like in your business, and doing less of what you don't. That's when you can, you know, shuffle things down and do less, have less in your business to shuffle. So you're not just managing and shifting things around, but that you really just are sticking to the what has to get done essentially in your business, so that you can focus on the things that you love to do, the things that you like to do, and hire out or delegate or delete everything that doesn't fit that mold. And then you will be happier, all smiles, right? And so the idea is that more than likely you're just overworked, right? Or doing a lot more of what you don't like versus what you like. So it's some simpler shifts of priorities and what your schedule looks like. And then if you find that if that's not indeed what's going on and you've done those things and you're still feeling some ick feelings about it, then you might want to look and see if maybe you are indeed misaligned in some way. And and that's okay too. There's nothing wrong with any of the outcomes that come from you. You're trying to figure out your anchor, figure out what might be that root cause. And there's no wrong answer. And if it is seeming to you like you are more misaligned than overworked, and it's not a burnout issue, then I would invite you to go check out my earlier videos on alignment and that brain heart coherence piece, because I think that will kind of help open some doors and let you dive a little bit deeper into that. So this is one step closer to being less resentful and falling in love with your practice again. So thanks for being here, and I'll see you in my next video.